Shalom, beloved family. It's your girl Sophia, Spiritual Light, and you are uh, getting ready to receive a 2-for-1 difficult to deliver message. I'm not going to say I was putting it off, but I was I was putting it off. Because of all the things to argue about, besides meat, these are probably the next two biggest things, and I hope I remember both of them. Um, so the first thing, and we're just gonna get to the point. The first thing that we have to remember, that we need to ensure that we learn and that we do, is that we deal with our shadow. And this part is particularly um, difficult because our suffering is at the hands of our own creation. We created our shadow, and our shadow created those who are enslaving us, for lack of a better way of describing it. And so, as we have collectively awakened and started to deal with our shadows, that's why certain entities are falling off the planet, because we're dealing with ourselves, we're dealing with our dark sides. And as we deal with our dark sides, what was created from our dark sides is starting to disappear. And that is a good thing, but we do individually have to come to terms with the fact that our suffering in our lives is literally at our own hands. Has been, will continue to be, and will always be at our own hands. We have to take full responsibility for it. And I know that's a part of dealing with the shadow, but it's extremely difficult to conceptualize that for us individually. So, you know, um, like for myself, you know, uh, maybe like having my car taken the way that it was, as it was as a result of me not having dealt with part of my shadow that I needed to deal with in regards to finances, which is why I've been so heavy into finances on this slice of time, because this is the time when we need to be heavy into it. And, not that I was lackadaisical about it and I could always make money, but it wasn't, that it was my relationship with it, meaning the fact that it was always something that I couldn't wrap my hands around. You know what I mean? I could get it. Getting it wasn't a problem. Getting money is not an issue. Wrapping my hands around it, being able to understand it, having a clear view for what money does and what money is and how it's supposed to work. I didn't have a handle on that. And, just the general lack of understanding in that regard for myself, led me into the position that I was in. And the Most High, really, really, really dealt with me gently, even in regards to that. It wasn't this whole thing, I had the warning, I knew it was coming. You know what I mean? It wasn't as harsh as it could have and should have been, but, just to accept the fact that, I can't. Now, was it executed by some demons? Absolutely. I mean, how do you think this thing works? Is the if that's how it works. It was executed by some lower level entities. However, that doesn't mean that I specifically didn't create the situation from my own shadow. And just like the dream I had the other day, I was being very lackadaisical about my sleeping habits, meaning, I do the crystals and all of that under my bed, which is, that's not lackadaisical, but I personally knew that there's more I could be doing to enhance my sleep. So now I use the like the little binaural beats or whatever for when I go to sleep, so that I can have more control over, what gets into my dream state, and it's not just kind of a wide open space where these entities can do whatever they're going to do. Now, again, as I mentioned, those entities got in trouble for trying to, get me to sign a contract in my in my sleep, because they weren't supposed to do that. That was not necessarily a creation of my shadow per se. That was an attack. However, me being loose with my sleeping habits and my sleeping regimen, gave them a window. That was the only window they had, and personal protection. I heard one of the Gentiles that's into that whole 2A stuff. Personal protection is your own responsibility. You can't put that on nobody else. If you're, left yourself wide open for a spiritual attack, that's on you. And another thing, even about that, I have to, be careful about even helping people deal with their spiritual stuff, even if they pay for it, to be honest, because I had done some spiritual work for somebody, and I went back to the place of the scene of the crime, basically, and I noticed that the protection I put up was removed. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to ever do spiritual work for this person again. I mean, not even if they pay for it. They're going to have to go to somebody else, because I don't appreciate, me learning all of this stuff to help someone. And then as soon as, there's people questioning, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? For the sake of protecting them, they just go through and remove my spiritual protection, because I see that as a personal attack, you know, on me and on my knowledge. And one thing that I have to deal with within my own shadow. I mean, not this recording is supposed to be all about me, but I'm just giving you examples so you can understand what I mean. One thing I have to deal with in my own shadow, my own respect, is that, if I say I know something, I really do know it. And so I can't let people question my knowing. You know what I mean? If they don't agree with my knowing, that's fine, but I can't let people question it, because the Most High and the angels, they work extremely hard to get this information to me. And for me to act like, number one, I got the information on my own, that's not true. So I don't say those kind of things. But for me to also act as if, somehow the knowledge that I received is not true, and, question the Father in that regard to the knowledge that He shared with me. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. And so I have to be careful not to engage with people who are going to take this knowledge, turn around and say, you didn't tell me that you were into X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth, which is why, I don't have a problem with being public about certain things that I'm doing and going through and dealing with, because I want people to understand that I'm approaching this with as much purity as I can, with as much honesty and sincerity as I can. And I'm not trying to deceive anyone with what I believe. Now, what I believe is complicated, because it, as I get new information, I have to change I can't just take in new information and make it fit in my old belief patterns, and I take in more information than a great deal of people, just because, I've always been like that. I'm a cocavite. I'm a cocav cocavite. It's not really nothing I can do about that, Literally, I'm a cocav cocavite. There's just nothing I can do about that. And so, um, you know, I understand that, everybody doesn't take in information as quickly as I do. So I try to present the information with as much, like I said, integrity as I can, to the best of my understanding. That being said, this next point is a point that's going to be, that is hotly contested. But, a sister pointed this out to me, and I'm going to point it out to you. So, to be quite frank, I don't know when my fast is going to end, which is why I keep changing the dates. The reason why I don't know when it's going to end is because I am following the sun. When the sun switches stations, when Oriole goes from winter station to spring station, that's the day after. Is the day after she switches stations is the first day of the year, and that's what my fast will end on, the first day of the year. I do not know exactly what day that will be. And I, we have the research. I posted the timeline and all of that from the beloved sister Mama T. And I'm not saying that I disagree with that at all. All I'm saying is I want to follow the time. I want to follow the signs and the wonders that the Most High gave us. He gave us the sun. The sun is the best witness. This is why I'm doing my fast from sundown to sun up. This is to give, Oriel a break or Methiel a break, whoever gets a break when we fast at night. To bring up that inner matter of fact, wow, that's crazy. I make Methiel the witness to my fast. And being that I'm dealing so much with Lilith, which is moon energy, Eve, which is moon energy, all these different moon energies, and we are right now we're under as far as the Olympic spirits are concerned, we're under the rule of Mercury, but the next spirit we're going to be under the rule of is the moon. And so it's almost like a preparation for that when it comes. So anyway, I'm doing heavily with the moon energy, so it makes sense to me to let the moon be the witness to my fast. But the day the fast ends is when the sun switches stations. And so I'm going to post a link to a video which shows us how we can ourselves watch. And so the reason why this part of the message is so difficult to deliver is because, you know, we have been using, even me when I do my daily planetary positions reports, I'm using the enemy's technology to deliver a message that's supposed to be a spiritual message. And I have a problem with that. That's why I stopped. But I started back up because I realized that people really don't have an understanding. And so hearing it over and over again, even if it's not quite presented in the proper way to be understood, the whole thing is getting it into our energy field that we need to be looking at the signs and wonders. The next thing is I'm going to try and get me a telescope so I can physically look at the sky and tell you, here's the picture from the sky. We see that these are where all the planets are. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, oh, I'm looking at this app, this wheel, this chart, and I'm telling you where stuff is based on what these Gentiles say. That's not how we're supposed to do it. We need to, the Most High gave us the sun, the moon, the stars, specifically for, the signs and the wonders, but especially for the signs. And, that's how we have to look at it. And if, according to the book of Enoch, I think, I haven't read this yet, but this is just me passing along the message. According to the book of Enoch, it says that there's 360 days in the year, and on the fourth day, the 91st day of each of those 3 months, that's when the sun switches stations. And so that one day is technically a day of rest, as the sun switches stations. But the last Sabbath, or the first Sabbath of the year, we should probably look at it from that, will be 7 days after the first of the year. And so if we don't know what the first day of the year is for our own selves, in the way that our ancestors would have done it, our ancestors didn't have no apps. You know what I mean? I mean, they may have, but it was way better than these, piece of junk technology that the Gentiles have given us. They had real technology. And so, absent of that real technology, we need to be able to observe what is happening so that we are able to, how can the Most High do anything different if we're not looking? I just, this, again, this is one of those things that's extremely controversial because we expect the Most High to have the exact same time, when in fact we know that one day he held the day for an extra day so that Joshua could win the battle. We know for a fact that he did that. And the reason he could do that is because, why? There's that extra day 4 times a year when the sun switches station. And so because he knows he has those 4 extra days during the year that he can fiddle around with time, if he has to do something, extend something for somebody, or whatever the case may be, he knows that those times are there. And so it behooves us to be good stewards of this universe, and to be true watchers. I mean, the Gentile that I watch, Repo Man, he considers himself a watcher, but he's watching with technology. You know what I mean? He's using the Bible to corroborate his timeline, but we need to really truly be watching based on what the sign is that the Most High give us. And if the sun physically switches direction from one direction to the next direction, as the sister points out in the video that I'm going to put in the description, and I will share it on my community post, then that's what we should be watching for. And on that marker day, that it's literally called a marker day because you're making a mark and you're seeing, oh, this day is different. Then we need to actually go by the marker days, and we need to organize our lives around the marker days, not just, oh, we're going to find the first of the year and that's going to be it. No, we need to mark every season. We need to, we can let the apps and whatever be the second witness, but the apps are typically wrong. They fiddle with stuff to make their numbers work. You know what I mean? Their algorithms work. We can literally go outside and observe the sun switching from one station to the other station. And the sister describes it in the video. And that's something that each of us can physically do, and we should do, so that we are able to determine, what the Most High is doing. How can we inherit a kingdom when we can't, do basic observation of what's going on with the sun in the sky? I didn't know. I truly did not know the sun literally switched positions. I knew it because I could observe it, but I didn't realize that it was a sign. It was a marker that we could be actually looking out for. And so that being said, I keep saying, oh, my fast is going to end on this day. My fast is going to end on the first day of the year, which is what I should have said in the first place. Whenever the first day of the year is, that's when that thing is going to end. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for the sign that the Most High will give us that the first day of the year has changed. And this is why this is important. I'm just going to mention this briefly, which I don't really want to, but it's towards the end. So hopefully, these entities won't get it. And so I'm requesting for, certain spirits to come in and make sure that the people who don't need to receive this part of the message don't get it. And it's just blinded from them. So, anyway, I have mentioned previously that the transits for the king's inauguration or whatever his coronation are absolutely horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I was like, I know these guys use astrologers. What the heck are they thinking picking this day? This is horrible. So, what I think happened is that they gave them the wrong day. See, because here's what it is. They knew that this spirit of Elijah and the feminine, the black dove was coming, right? They knew that thing was coming. And so, to try and get it to a male so that it could be the continuation of the male rule, they took the queen out. She'd already been, removed, but they took her out, right? And so then they said, okay, we'll put this guy in, make him the king, and then when the spirit of Elijah and the feminine side, the black dove, come, we'll be in place to take that power because we'll do all the rituals and the rites and everything else. Well, I think they were given the wrong date, to be honest. And why? Because number one, that they're not going to get this spirit. The spirit is not for them. I already told you who it's for. It's not for them. And so they're trying to steal it, right? And so how do we know, that the Most High is not going to do something different on this year to line up with this spirit, the black dove that is coming? How do we know that? We will only know if we observe. And so just for that fact alone, putting all three of these different conversations I had with different people together, I've come to this conclusion that, we have to be observing, because it's our shadow that says the Most High can't do anything different, when we have all the stories of the Most High always doing different stuff, telling people not to observe the Sabbath, telling people to do this, telling people to do that, lie, whatever it is, telling people to do all kinds of crazy stuff and honoring it, And I always go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man, and Solomon, man. The bar is low. Like I keep telling women when I do my little, calls about the charts, I'm gonna keep telling y'all the bar is low. The bar is low. The bar is very, very low. Like Abraham lied about Sarah being his wife because he was worried they were going to kill him on account of her beauty. Not for no other reason. Not if straight up fear. Straight up fear. This man's shadow was ginormous. Same with Isaac. Jacob had his stuff with his, crazy sons he never really put into check. Then you have Solomon with his 1,000 wives and girlfriends, trying to repopulate the earth with all Hebrews in his image. You know what I mean? This is and was shooting blanks, to be honest, because he only had 3 children. This is what you're dealing with. This is what you're up against. This is why I'm trying to explain to people that, the bar is low. Like, we don't have to be perfect, but one thing we do need, that these individuals did is they observed the signs and the wonders of the Most High, and they expected the Most High to show up and do something different. Like when Abraham told Sarah, tell these people that we're brother and sister. He didn't know that the angel was going to show up and terrify these kings, but he left space for the Most High to come and do something different. And that's what happened. And that's what we have to do. Why? Because he was observing. He observed that as soon as he told people that was his sister, that angel showed up and terrified these people so much that they sent them out with all kinds of riches and told them, get the hell out and don't come back. So, and the Most High never told Abraham to stop doing that, and so he had his reasons and his purposes. And so you have to expect, so literally the Most High sanctioned Abraham's line for his own purpose. And you have to make space for the Most High to show up and do something different. If you are so committed to, the Most High has to operate like this is the only way that he can operate, you're going to miss when the Most High does something different. So that's why I will be using this technique to observe the start of all the seasons and make my calendar like that. So I am working on a calendar that we will be able to utilize for these things, and it'll probably be out sometime. I don't know when, but I am working on a calendar that will be able to do this type of tracking on our own based on, this kind of information. So I just have some more research to do. But in the meantime, what we can do is observe the start of the new year by observing it, not just accepting it. Now, again, the app can be the second witness. The tables and the stuff, they're still applicable. We just have to count the days between the first and the second and all of that, instead of just accepting that this day is the day that they say it is. We need to be we need to be doing our own personal calculations so that we can be showing the Most High that we are worthy of receiving whatever he's sending to us. We have to, it's not that we have to prove ourselves. I'm not talking about proof. I'm talking about, offering, it's the true offering. It's like, dang, that's a good word, because if you're supposed to give 10% of what you have, 10% of your time, would basically be spent to trying to get the calendar right, to get on the right calendar of the Most High, the proper timeline of the Most High. Well, I mean, that's an offering. That's an offering. And, the Most High would be, I'm sure he would be glad to receive that. And that's why you use your pendulum and double check. Is this something that I need to do? And some people, they don't need to do it. I'm not saying that everyone needs to do this. I'm not saying that everyone needs to observe when the first of the year is. I'm not saying that. If you have it set in stone the day you're going to observe as the first, all praises to the Most High, because you're observing based on your understanding. But if the sun, if Oriel is a witness, I'm going to observe based on the witness that the Most High gave me. And that's okay too. There's no one right answer. I know that people want a one right answer to be for everything. There's just not one right answer, because the Gentiles celebrate their new year on the 1st of January. Well, that's a good time to put your new year too, based on all the stuff that we found out about those days. That's as good as any time. You know what I mean? So it's not about being right. Nobody cares about, I mean, let me put it this way. I don't care about being right. I don't care about being right. What I want to do is just, I want to be conscious. I want to be conscious. I don't have to be right. I just want to be conscious of the actual changes. And when the Most High comes back, he's going to see that things are in disarray, and he's going to get us together. It's not for us to be right. It's for us to be conscious, to do things with a conscious, with a conscious effort. So 9 times out of 10, I'm still going to do my St. Patrick's Day celebration as the traditional marker of the new year. But my actual new year, when I start counting, yeah, that's going to be from, when the sun changes the station. That's how I'm going to do it. And, another thing about it is what our people lack understanding, or they just don't want to accept it, is that we partied all the time. We didn't need no excuse to have a party. You know what I mean? We were always, the sacrifices were nothing but barbecues and big, cookouts and parties. We partied all the time. So there's nothing wrong with having a party now, turning around, having another party, turning around, having another party. There's no thing wrong with that. There's no thing wrong with that. We just, have to get in our minds that this is why our people were always partying, because there's always something to celebrate. Maybe St. Patrick's Day isn't the first exact day of the year, but it's still a day to celebrate, because it's the day that it has been in the past. And there's nothing wrong with honoring your past. It's the same. It's just like, this is why it behooves us to celebrate a wide variety of holidays. There's always energy to harvest. And if people are putting out their energy on St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to harvest that energy on that day, because our relationship with the Most High, with the Air Kadeshi, with the angels, with the Olympic spirits, they're all personal relationships. They're not wide open relationships for everybody to necessarily be a part of. Now, I'm going to observe, like I said, the first of the year, when the sun changes the station. The day after, and the sun changes the station, that's the day I'm going to observe. And I'll base my Sabbaths on that day that I observe. But as far as celebrating St. Patrick's Day, celebrating whatever days these Gentiles have, I'm absolutely going to celebrate all of them. And that's controversial in and of itself, but I'm telling you, I want to harvest all the energy that, the Most High haven't, put me to great shame and reproach yet for celebrating all these holidays. I've been celebrating these things my whole entire life. And just like Abraham, was, going around lying, what's worse? Lying to everybody that your sister, your wife was your sister, and basically shaking down the kingdom for money, or celebrating Christmas. Which one's worse? I'm just saying, the bar is low. I'm doing it with a pure heart to harness the energy and put back into our people. Abraham was doing it with a pure heart. He wanted to preserve his own life. He's very concerned about that. He was doing it with a pure heart. This whole thing about the shadow is that, a lot of it does have to do with our intentions. A lot of our shadow work is done by purifying our hearts. You know what I mean? And as we purify our hearts, we deal with our shadow and we become better. And, as we become better, our shadow becomes smaller. It doesn't go away, but it becomes smaller, and it's more manageable, and we can use it to get things done, vis-a-vis righteous anger. That's something where you will call your shadow up, or me, like, I had to talk with a lawyer recently. I called that thing up and I went straight to him. You know what I mean? That's how you use it. You use it when it needs to be used. When you have to get angry at something, when you have to use that inner darkness, you call that thing up and you unleash it, when the time comes. But it's not something that you have to just sit there and constantly feed and constantly deal with. I mean, not deal with, but constantly feed into and make bigger and bigger, because literally your shadow is creating, these heathens, and the exact process, I'm not going to discuss that at this time. Although I think I have an understanding of that. We're going to save that for a different video, but literally your shadow is breeding the heathens. And so if you truly want these people to be gone, then you truly need to deal with your shadow. If you truly want the Most High to come back and see that you have done the work, you need to deal with your shadow. You need to, do your best to observe, not just calculate, but observe, the signs and the wonders of the Most High, which is why you should go out, look at the sun, look at the moon, look at the stars, physically look at them, and not just look at an app. You know what I mean? The app is fine. The app can be the second witness, but let your own eyes on the sun, let your own eyes on the moon, let your own eyes on the stars be your first witness. And if that's unattainable for you, that's fine. Don't worry about it. This is for the people who are, who it's not unattainable for. It's not unattainable for me to go and set a couple sticks out and figure out true north and observe, the start of the season. That's not unobtainable for me. That's not unattainable for me. And I'm going to do it. And I'll show y'all I'll post, my updates when the time comes, so that we can have a record of what the Most High is doing. Because again, it's like that question: if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? If you're not observing the tree to make a sound, does it actually make a sound? You won't know until you observe it. And so you won't know if, won't know when the start of the year is until you observe it with your own two eyes. And you make your assessments on your Sabbaths from there. And that's not saying that all the rest of the feast days don't stay the same. I don't know how they're calculated. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But if they're calculated on the days from the start of the year, then, that's something that you can just overlay, over top of any calendar based on the start of the year. You know what I mean? Don't you? How important is it to get the Day of Atonement right? I mean, these are the kind of things that I think about, which I celebrated my Day of Atonement a day late. I can see why, because I was operating off a different thing. I just did mine differently, because I always just do. Again, this is like the benefit of having a relationship with your guardian angel and the angels in general, which isn't hard. Once you start reaching out to them, a little bit, they're going to reach back. There's no doubt about the fact that the angels are going to reach back. The Most High is waiting for us to reach out to him, and as we reach out, just like a baby, I have a 2-year-old. When he reaches out to me, I reach back to him. Even when he's not reaching out to me, I'm reaching out to him, because that's my little big man. That's big boy right there, And so that's how the Most High was us. He knows that we're babies. We don't know. But as we reach out to the Most High, he'll reach back to us. As we reach out to the mother, she'll reach back to us, And, using her angels to observe the start of the year. I mean, the earthly mother angels, the Erkadeshi, that is, that's just paying reverence to her and her role in the whole thing. And so that's why me personally, I'm going to observe it. I'm going to observe it. And, everybody doesn't have to. I'll, document it for us all to see. I'll document it for us all to see. But, you have to do your best to observe it with your own two eyes if you can, however you can do it, do the best that you can. The whole thing is doing the best that you can. If it's unattainable for you to actually observe it, then follow the calendar. There's no issue. There's no issue. I don't want people to, hear my messages and then be worried that they're doing something wrong. We're doing the best that we can. If you do the best that you can't be wrong. Look at Abraham. He did the best that he could. The best that he could was to lie and tell people that that was his sister when it was his wife. That was the best he could do. The bar is low. I mean, I hate to keep saying this, but the bar is low. Now, for men, the bar is high because the men are a little bit different, but because the angel didn't come to rescue the man. The angel came to rescue Sarah. The angel came to rescue Rebecca. So for the men, the bar is a little bit higher. But for the women, your bar is Noah. You know what I mean? For the women, the bar is low. I mean, I have suggested this before and I will suggest it again. Pick a female avatar from the Bible, a character that you can identify with, and just do some research on her. Read about her in the different books. Try and, line her up with different entities. Of course, mine is Rahab because she was the business owner, She was the one who used the pendulum, and I have a video about how they obscured her right out of history. You know what I mean? Like, just right out of the line of Yahushua. So, that's basically, I resonate with that. So find you a character in the Bible that you resonate with. Do you some research and hold that character. It's like they always say, what would Jesus do? You could say, well, what would this character do in the Bible? What would this person do in the Bible? You know what I mean? How would they handle the situation? And if you're handling it in a way that they would handle it, then 9 times out of 10, you're not doing the wrong thing. This is why it's important to accept the Bible as your book with your history in it, not just some random book with a bunch of random stuff in it. No, this is your history from your people. You should really, do your best to identify with that if you can. That's my suggestion. That's my true suggestion, and that's what I have done. And when I have my calls, that's what I suggest people to do. To literally I accept one of these characters as your personal avatar. And from there, the Bible starts to make sense, and you can make sense of your actions, and you can always judge your actions based off, look at Esther, look at Deborah, look at, even look at Sarah, look at Rebecca. I mean, these are all quite powerful women. They took a lot of the women out the Bible. So for them to leave these women, these is the top hitters. You know what I mean? These are the ones they couldn't take out the Bible. So look at how they handle things. You know what I mean? And use that as your, as a point of strength for you, because these are all made, they're all made in the image of the mother. There's another one. I can't, not Rachel and Leah, but, the one that married Boaz. Anyway, I can't remember her name now, but these are all Ruth. There we go, Ruth. These are all very very important stories of the women in the Bible, and read it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. Look for the information the best way that you can. You know what I mean? And that will help you to be sure that what would the women have done. This is okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to end on this. This is another thing. What would the women have done? If the men just in general, this is just a thought experiment. If you had the men that were dead set on fasting from sun up to sundown, right? What would the women have done naturally? Naturally, they would have taken the other shift, which is from sundown to sunup. That's what's natural. Why? That way you have 24 hours covered. So people who are fasting during the day, I don't say there's nothing bad about that, but in this fast, now we have 24 hours covered, and not just because people are in different time zones, but because consciously we have, some of us out here fasting from sundown to sunup. So no matter what, we have a 24-hour fast going on due to are working together, knowingly or unknowingly. This is what we have. That's why I never, said to nobody, no, don't fast from sun up to sundown. Don't do that. That's bad. I said, no, this is what I'm going to do, because my thing is I'm a number 9. Like, I have a lot of 9s. 9 energy is leading from the back, leading by example, leading by, just like a cleanup crew. Come in, catch all the loose ends and kind of fix what's left. That's my thing. Like, loose ends, somebody else can get that out there in the front and deal with the issue. Let me deal with the issue from the back. Let me make sure, none of the, it's like the wolves are. The strongest wolves are in the back. It doesn't mean that the wolves in the front are weak. It's just that your real strong wolves are in the back of the pack. The leader of the pack is in the back. They're the last one. That's how I am. I'm leading from the back. The people in the front, they know where to go. They've done the path before. They have the intelligence. The one in the back is not questioning the direction of the one in the front. The one in the back is just making sure that there's no stragglers. That's me. By covering all 24 hours, now we have, do you know how much even more powerful that is for our fasting? That we have 24 hours covered without you personally having to fast for 24 hours. That is, amazing, that it has come to this point. And, I'm grateful to do what I can to help. And that's how I look at it. It's just helping everybody out. If I'm covering the part that somebody else is not covering, we're covered for 24 hours, and we'll all share the energy of fasting for 24 hours for 40 plus days. We'll share the energy. This is not about me taking the energy. It's about me redirecting that energy to our people. And so that's how I look at it. That's how I perceive it. Come to your own conclusion, but I implore, people to do their own research, to have an understanding for themselves. And so that way they don't get stuck with what, somebody else is saying. They can physically observe it. And if it's physically observable, then you should physically observe it so that you can draw your own conclusion. And, if you want a reading, the readings are all up on my website. I have some new products up on the website. Please, check me out. Go to fruitsandspirit.com. If you don't want to pay online, don't hesitate to email me, sophiaspiritualite@gmail.com. And I will, I can deal with you like that too. I just try to make myself available to the best of my ability to provide stuff that the brothers and the sisters need. And so to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace, and always remember the Most High is your peace. Shalom.